I want to read to you a couple paragraphs from a man who the church at the turn of the 19th century considered a great enemy to Christianity. I identify with that enemy because I was just like him before Jesus redeemed me. Let me quote you his words. Who can estimate the misery that has been caused by this most infamous doctrine of eternal punishment? Think of the lives it has blighted, of the tears it has caused, of the agony it has produced. Think of the millions who have been driven to insanity by this most terrible of dogmas. This doctrine renders God the basest and most cruel being in the universe. Compared with him, the most frightful deities of the most barbarous and degrading tribes are miracles of goodness and mercy. There is none more degrading than to worship such a God. Lower than this, the soul can never sink. If the doctrine of eternal damnation is true, let me share the fate of the unconverted. Let my portion be in hell rather than in heaven, with a God infamous enough to inflict eternal misery upon any of the sons of men. Who wrote this? The famous Robert G. Ingersoll, famous atheist who wrote Heretics and Heresies in 1874. I identify with this man because when I was an atheist, and I was an atheist for 37 years, the teachings of the traditional church are what turned me away from Jesus Christ. I could not reconcile a God who said that he was love, a God who told his constituents to overcome their enemies with love, and then for him to do at the end of time what the traditional church taught that he would do to most of mankind. I was born in Nuremberg, Germany. My mother was Lutheran. My mother married a military person later when I was 6 or 7 who was Catholic. I was introduced to God through Evangelische Kirche, church, and Roman Catholic Church. And by the time they got done with me, I wanted nothing to do with Christ. And I became an atheist. It was not Satanists and atheists and secular humanists that turned me to atheism. It was the teaching of the church. I could not reconcile a God of love, a God of justice, a God of holiness, with the kind of God, the turn or burn God that I was experiencing in my childhood and experiencing in my adult life. I did not come to Jesus Christ because Billy Graham, decided to follow the Roman road. God sought me and God converted me on Valentine's Day, 1985. I wasn't looking for him. He found me. And it was the most glorious and grateful and joyous day of my life when God the Father revealed to me personally that he loved me and that I was his son and that he would cherish me and keep me forever and that he would keep my friends forever, that he would keep my family forever, that he would even overcome my enemies with love. And that God, that Father, my Father, commanded me to overcome my enemies with love. God is love, a love that never fails. Not for one soul, not for 1 billion souls, not for 100 billion souls. Love never fails. And so I say to you, my atheist friend, who is right now without hope, I can't give you my faith in God because that faith that I have was a gift through Jesus Christ. I didn't earn it. I didn't beg for it. I didn't hit the altar for it. It came sovereignly by a divine act of God. And I'm grateful that I have it. Faith is a precious thing that as an atheist you can't understand what it is. Revelation, you can't understand it until you've been divinely given it. And then when you've been given it, you just know. So I can't give you my faith, but my dear atheist friend, my secular humanist friend, my friend out there who has been turned away from God because of what you heard in church and what you heard from the TV preachers, God is not like that. And I want you to know that the original Greek and Hebrew scriptures do not teach a God like that. The scriptures of the Jewish and Christian Bibles teach Jesus Christ, the Redeemer, the Savior of the entire world. He told his disciples to overcome their enemies with love, and that is exactly how he is going to overcome all of his enemies with love. You may be estranged from Jesus right now for many circumstances. Maybe you had terrible childhood problems. Maybe you had a terrible father and you can't relate to a loving father. Maybe you have had a legalistic father, torturing, judgmental kind of image of God preached to you in your teenage years. And so you can't relate to what I'm saying. But I tell you this, God is love. And he will draw you. Jesus was sent to draw all mankind unto himself. And the parable says that he will not give up until he finds the last soul, the last son. And maybe, sir or ma'am, you might be that last son. Maybe you have been hardened by the church. Maybe you've been hardened by the circumstances of life. Maybe you've been hardened by the misery that you see all around you, the sin and the death. And you've been God-hardened. But I assure you, one day, love will find you. And when you meet love, you cannot resist. It's the power of the universe. And it will find you. And you will be at peace. And you will experience great joy. And I hope that it happens to you like it happened to me. I hope it happens real soon. Thank you very much for your time.